Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about relationships that a lot of people misunderstand. Everybody talks about attraction. Everybody talks about chemistry. Everybody talks about looks, but very few people understand what actually makes a man emotionally attached. I'm not talking about temporary interest. I'm not talking about texting you all night for 2 weeks. I'm talking about the kind of connection where a man starts thinking about you when you're not around, where he considers you part of his future, where walking away from you feels like losing peace itself. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that many people overlook when they talk about relationships. Everybody focuses on attraction, appearance, and excitement, but very few understand the quiet power of authentic femininity and emotional warmth. These are not loud qualities. They don't demand attention in a crowded room, yet they are the very things that make a man emotionally relax, emotionally open, and eventually emotionally attached. Emotionally attached. A man spends most of his life in environments where he is expected to perform. From a young age, he is taught to compete, to solve problems, to hide vulnerability, and to carry responsibility without complaint. The world often rewards his strength, but rarely makes space for his emotions. Because of this, many men walk through life guarded, not because they don't feel deeply, but because they don't always feel safe expressing what they feel. When a woman enters his life with genuine warmth, something shifts inside him that he may not even be able to explain. Authentic femininity is not about pretending to be soft or acting helpless. It is about emotional presence. It is the ability to create an atmosphere where a man feels accepted without needing to prove himself every second. When a woman listens with real interest instead of waiting for her turn to speak, when she responds with understanding instead of immediate judgment, she creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is rare. Because it is rare, it becomes valuable. Because it is valuable, it becomes unforgettable. You see, warmth communicates something powerful without words. It tells a man, you can be human here. That message alone allows him to lower emotional defenses he carries everywhere else. A man may be admired by many people, but he becomes attached to the woman around whom he feels peace. Peace is not boring to a man. Peace is healing. Many people confuse femininity with weakness, but true femininity with weakness. But true femininity requires emotional intelligence and strength. It takes strength to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. It takes maturity to understand when a man needs encouragement instead of correction. When a woman brings calm energy into difficult moments, she becomes associated with emotional stability. Over time, a man subconsciously connects relief and comfort with her presence. Think about this carefully. Emotional attachment often forms not during grand romantic gestures, but during small, quiet interactions. A gentle tone during a stressful conversation. A supportive word when he doubts himself. A smile that reassures him after a long day. These moments may seem small, but emotionally, they build a foundation stronger than attraction alone. Warmth also allows a man to feel seen beyond his achievements. Many men are valued only for what they provide or accomplish. When a woman appreciates his personality, his thoughts, and even his imperfections, he experiences a deeper form of connection. He begins to feel that her interest is genuine, not conditional. That authenticity encourages him to open up emotionally And once a man begins sharing his inner world, attachment starts forming naturally. Another powerful aspect of emotional warmth is the absence of unnecessary competition. Relationships are not meant to feel like power struggles. When a woman communicates with kindness instead of trying to win every disagreement, she creates cooperation instead of resistance. A man does not emotionally attach where he constantly feels challenged or criticized. He attaches where he feels understood. Now understand this clearly. Warmth does not mean tolerating disrespect or lowering standards. Authentic femininity includes self-respect. A warm woman can still set boundaries calmly and confidently. In fact, boundaries delivered with grace often increase a man's respect because they show emotional control and self-awareness. The combination of kindness and strength creates balance, and balance is deeply attractive on an emotional level. Men often remember how a woman makes them feel more than what she says. Words fade, but emotional experiences remain. If interactions consistently leave him feeling calmer, happier, and more confident, his mind begins associating emotional well-being with her presence. Over time, he starts seeking that feeling intentionally. He wants to talk to her after a hard day. He wants to share good news with her first. He begins including her emotionally in moments she isn't even physically present for. That is the beginning of emotional attachment. Warmth also encourages vulnerability. When a man feels emotionally safe, he starts revealing fears, dreams, and insecurities he normally hides. This is significant because vulnerability creates bonding. The more he shares and feels accepted afterward, the deeper the connection grows. He realizes he is not being judged or diminished, and that realization strengthens trust. Authenticity plays an equally important role. Men are highly sensitive to emotional sincerity, even if they don't verbalize it. When warmth is genuine, rather than performative, it feels effortless. A woman who is comfortable being herself allows a man to feel comfortable being himself too. There is no pressure to impress constantly, no fear of emotional rejection. Authenticity removes emotional tension, and emotional comfort encourages attachment. In many relationships, people try to create attraction through drama or unpredictability, thinking intensity equals connection. But emotional attachment grows through consistency of warmth, not emotional chaos. A man may feel excitement around unpredictability, but he builds emotional roots where he feels emotionally nourished. Over time, authentic femininity and emotional warmth become something a man depends on emotionally. Not dependency in an unhealthy way, but in the sense that her presence improves his emotional state. He feels more balanced, more understood, and more grounded. He begins imagining life with her not because he has to, but because life feels better with her in it. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman leads with genuine warmth, emotional awareness, and authentic feminine energy, she creates something powerful without force or manipulation. She creates an emotional environment where a man feels safe enough to connect deeply, open fully, and attach naturally, not because he is pressured, but because his heart recognizes peace when it finally experiences it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something so simple yet so overlooked in relationships: respect and appreciation. Many women underestimate how deeply a man craves acknowledgement for who he is and what he does. They focus on how he looks, how he treats them, or how much attention he gives. But few realize that a man's heart truly opens when he feels respected and genuinely appreciated. I'm not talking about empty flattery. I'm talking about sincere recognition of the effort he puts into his life, his work, and even the small things he does for the people he cares about. A man spends a lot of his life striving, competing, and proving himself. He faces expectations from family, society, and himself. Often under pressure, he can openly share. When he's with a woman who sees those efforts and genuinely values them, he feels noticed, validated, and important in a way that is deeply emotional. Respect and appreciation are like emotional oxygen. Without them, a man may survive, but he doesn't fully thrive. When he feels respected, he begins to relax and reveal the parts of himself that he usually keeps hidden. Now, let's be clear. Appreciation is not just saying thank you for the obvious things. It's noticing the subtleties. It's noticing when he tries, even if he doesn't succeed perfectly. It's noticing when he makes sacrifices or does something thoughtful. When a man sees that a woman truly acknowledges these things, it taps into his pride and sense of worth in a way nothing else can. He begins to feel that being with her is meaningful not just for her happiness, but for his own identity. That recognition creates a bond stronger than charm or physical attraction ever could. Respect works hand in hand with appreciation. A man becomes attached when he feels that his thoughts, opinions, and feelings matter. When a woman listens without judgment and treats his perspective with genuine consideration, he feels valued as a partner rather than just a provider. Respect in a relationship communicates equality and emotional safety. It tells a man that he is seen as a human being with strengths and flaws, not just a figure to be controlled or changed. And when he experiences that kind of respect consistently, attachment becomes inevitable because he begins associating her presence with dignity and emotional security. Many people make the mistake of thinking that attachment is about constant attention or flattering gestures. But a man's emotional attachment grows from recognition that he is understood and honored for who he truly is. Appreciation reinforces the positive behaviors he exhibits, but more importantly, it touches the emotional core of a man who often doesn't hear genuine acknowledgement elsewhere. A woman who notices his effort, praises his character, and validates his contributions doesn't just attract a man temporarily. She anchors him emotionally. Now think about the moments that often go unnoticed. The late night hours he worked to solve a problem, the time he listened to someone else's troubles before thinking about himself, the way he handled a stressful situation without losing control. These are the small, often invisible things that reveal a man's character and inner strength. When a woman notices these efforts and communicates her respect for them sincerely, it creates emotional depth. The man begins to feel that his life and actions are meaningful to someone who matters. An emotional attachment starts to grow organically. Another important aspect is the way appreciation strengthens trust. When a man feels that a woman sees his efforts and values them, he also feels safer being vulnerable. He begins to share his challenges, his ambitions, and even his insecurities because he knows she will respond with understanding and not criticism. That emotional openness leads to deeper intimacy and attachment. A man doesn't need someone to solve all his problems or tell him what to do. He needs someone who respects him enough to see his journey and appreciate his effort. That is the true emotional magnet. Respect also encourages him to rise to his best self. When a man knows that his partner admires his efforts, he naturally wants to do more and be more. Appreciation is not just validation, it's motivation. It's motivation. It fuels his sense of purpose and inspires him to continue giving his best to the relationship. And when he sees that his hard work and dedication matter to someone he cares about, his attachment deepens because he experiences love that is not conditional or superficial. It is rooted in understanding, acknowledgement, and emotional resonance. Many women unknowingly push men away by ignoring these small but powerful moments. They may take his efforts for granted, criticize without recognizing intent, or fail to express gratitude. That creates emotional distance because a man begins to feel unappreciated and invisible. On the other hand, consistent respect and appreciation act like glue. They pull a man in emotionally, making him feel connected, seen, and valued. Over time, he begins to invest more than he ever thought he could because he feels that his heart is safe, honored, and cherished. Sincere appreciation also demonstrates emotional intelligence. A woman who can recognize effort, validate feelings, and honor intentions is showing that she understands emotional needs, both hers and his. That kind of maturity and emotional awareness is rare, and men instinctively attach to it. They recognize when someone is attuned to their inner world, and that recognition forms a foundation of trust, loyalty, and emotional bonding. Emotional attachment, in this sense, is not something forced or demanded. It is a natural response to being respected, valued, and genuinely appreciated. Finally, remember that respect and appreciation are ongoing practices, not one-time gestures. A man can feel attachment grow gradually when these qualities are consistently expressed. When a woman's words and actions regularly reinforce that she notices and values him, attachment becomes almost inevitable. A man starts connecting his happiness, confidence, and emotional comfort to her presence. He doesn't feel manipulated. He feels genuinely loved and understood. And that is the kind of emotional attachment that lasts a lifetime. Respect and appreciation, when expressed authentically, don't just make a man feel good, they make him feel emotionally invested, deeply connected, and profoundly attached. Deeply connected and profoundly attached. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in. Oh, something that many people completely misunderstand about relationships, emotional independence, and self-worth. You see, a lot of people think that the way to make a man attached is to be available at all times, to respond immediately to every text, to constantly show need and desire. That's the exact opposite of what creates lasting emotional attachment. Men are naturally drawn to women who are emotionally independent, who carry their own sense of identity, purpose, and happiness. When a woman has her own life, her own goals, and her own joy, she is magnetic in a way that neediness or desperation can never achieve. Emotional independence is powerful because it communicates confidence, strength, and the unspoken message that you are complete without him. Yet he is still an important and cherished part of your life. A woman who is Emotionally independent does not rely on a man to make her feel whole. She does not panic when he's late to respond. She does not assume his affection will disappear if she spends time on herself, and she does not beg for attention or validation. Instead, she focuses on her own growth, her passions, her health, her friends, and her ambitions. And here's the secret. When a man sees a woman thriving on her own, it triggers admiration, respect, and deep emotional attachment. He wants to be part of her life because he recognizes that she is already way only, not because he has to fill a void. That distinction is crucial. Men are attracted to strength and self-sufficiency, not neediness and dependency. Self-worth goes hand in hand with independence. A woman who knows her value sets boundaries that protect her emotional and mental well-being. She does not tolerate disrespect, dishonesty, or neglect, and she communicates her standards confidently and calmly. That level of self-awareness signals to a man that he is dealing with someone mature, stable, and grounded. When a woman operates from self-worth, she does not manipulate, beg, or pressure him for emotional responses. Instead, she invites him into a relationship built on mutual respect and equality. A man instinctively attaches to that because it provides him with clarity and security. He knows where he stands, and he feels challenged in a positive way to be his best self for someone he respects deeply. Emotional independence also creates a sense of mystery, which is incredibly attractive to men. A woman who has her own life is not predictable or easily exhausted emotionally. She does not revolve entirely around a man's schedule or moods. She has experiences, friendships, and accomplishments that are uniquely hers. When she shares her life with a man, it is not because she needs him to validate it, but because she chooses to include him. That choice, that voluntary includes iron, creates an emotional pull that is far stronger than obligation or dependence ever could. Men naturally attach to women who are not emotionally easy prey, who challenge them intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually while remaining supportive, warm, and present. Emotional independence also encourages healthy space in a relationship, which paradoxically deepens attachment. Many people fear space and interpret it as distance or lack of love, but space allows both partners to maintain their identities, prevents emotional suffocation, and gives time to reflect and appreciate each other. When a woman maintains her own emotional balance, she allows a man the room to breathe, grow, and contribute willingly. He doesn't feel trapped or smothered, and as a result, he begins to value her presence even more. Absence does not create fear when attachment is built on respect and independence. It creates desire, longing, and appreciation for the emotional comfort she provides when she is present. Another important aspect is that emotionally independent women exude confidence, and confidence is irresistibly attractive. A man wants to feel proud to be with a woman who knows her worth and carries herself with dignity. She does not settle for less than she deserves, yet she gives herself fully in a relationship with someone who respects and values her. That combination of self-assuredness and availability for connection creates a powerful emotional dynamic. Men feel challenged in a positive way, inspired to invest more, and reassured that the bee on they are forming is with someone who is grounded, intentional, and aware of her own value. Emotional independence also prevents common relationship pitfalls like codependency, jealousy, and constant insecurity. A woman who is rooted in her own self-worth does not fall into the trap of clinging, manipulating, or testing a man to prove his love. She trusts herself, she trusts her values, and she trusts the process of connection. That trust signals to a man that he is with someone mature and reliable, which naturally fosters attachment. A man does not have to question her stability or emotional state, and that stability allows him to open up and invest deeply, knowing he is safe to do so. Furthermore, a woman with emotional independence brings a positive influence into a man's life. Instead of draining his energy with constant neediness or drama, she adds inspiration, encouragement, and calm. She models emotional resilience, which encourages him to rise to the occasion. A man who sees a woman handling challenges with grace, pursuing her ambitions, and maintaining her happiness independently begins to respect her, admire her, and ultimately attach himself emotionally because he perceives the relationship as mutually uplifting rather than burdensome. It's also important to note that independence creates choice rather than necessity. A man attaches deeply when he feels he is woe. If a woman who chooses him because she wants him, not because she depends on him to survive emotionally, that choice-based attachment is far stronger and more enduring than attachment created out of obligation, fear, or desperation. When a woman's life is full, her emotions balanced, and her self-worth evident, she creates an environment where a man's attachment grows naturally because he feels he is with someone exceptional, someone whose presence enhances his life rather than completes it. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional independence and self-worth are not about creating distance or appearing cold. They are about creating a life of fullness, stability, and intentionality that attracts a man not superficially, but on a deeply emotional level. A man becomes attached not because he is needed, but because he is inspired, respected, and emotionally fulfilled by the woman who chooses to walk through life with purpose and confidence, inviting him to share in her journey. That, my friends, is how true emotional attachment is formed, quietly, powerfully, and enduringly through the magnetism of independence and self-worth. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's talk about something that many people underestimate, yet it is one of the most powerful forces that draws a man in emotionally: consistency, peace, and positive energy. Too often, people think that excitement, drama, or unpredictability is what keeps a relationship alive. But I'm here to tell you that men attach emotionally where they feel stability, calm, and a sense of well-being. Life is already full of stress, challenges, and chaos for most men. And when they find a woman who consistently provides a safe emotional environment, who radiates peace, and who brings positive energy into their world, something deep inside and begins to connect, root, and stay. Emotional attachment thrives in environments that feel emotionally nourishing, not draining, and consistency is the foundation of that nourishment. Consistency in behavior and character is critical. A man may be attracted initially by looks or charm, but attachment is built over time when a woman's words, actions, and reactions are steady and predictable in a healthy way. When he knows what to expect from her. When she approaches challenges with maturity, responds to conflict calmly, and expresses love and support reliably, he begins to feel safe. Safety is the cornerstone of attachment. Without safety, no amount of affection, beauty, or chemistry can create long-lasting emotional bonds. A man may enjoy excitement, but he will ultimately invest himself emotionally where he feels secure, where he knows that his heart is not at risk of unnecessary chaos or emotional instability. Peace is a quality that cannot be underestimated. A woman who ingests peace into a man's life is someone he associates with relief and comfort. Think about it. Men live in a world that constantly demands, judges, and pressures them. Work, responsibilities, family expectations, it all weighs heavily on them. When they encounter a woman who does not add to that burden, but instead offers calm, understanding, and encouragement, she becomes emotionally indispensable. Men attach to peace because it feels rare, valuable, and restorative. They begin to associate her presence with emotional rejuvenation, a kind of stability they cannot find elsewhere. This is why women who handle themselves with grace, who remain composed under pressure, and who approach life's ups and downs with calmness naturally draw men into deeper emotional connection. Positive energy is equally important. A man becomes attached to a woman who lifts his spirit rather than drains it. This does not mean pretending that life is perfect or ignoring challenges. It means approaching life with a mindset that encourages solutions over complaints, growth over stagnation, and optimism over despair. Positive energy is contagious, and men are naturally drawn to it because it makes their own lives feel lighter and more enjoyable. A woman who radiates optimism, who finds joy in small moments, and who encourages him to see the brightest side of life without ignoring reality creates an environment that feels safe and emotionally rewarding. That energy becomes magnetic because it directly impacts his emotional state, making him want to be around her consistently. Consistency, peace, and positive energy also build trust in a way that drama and unpredictability never can. When a man knows that his partner will respond predictably with kindness, patience, and understanding, he feels comfortable opening up. He begins to share thoughts, dreams, fears, and desires he might otherwise keep hidden. Emotional attachment grows naturally when a man feels that he can reveal his inner world without fear of judgment or volatile reactions. Stability in a woman's behavior signals reliability, and reliability is a powerful attractor because it allows him to invest emotionally with confidence, knowing that his feelings and his heart are safe. Many women make the mistake of thinking that conflict, tension, or constant emotional highs are what keep a man interested. The truth is, while drama can create temporary excitement, it does not build lasting attachment. In fact, it often drives men away. Emotional attachment grows where life feels balanced and harmonious. A woman who remains calm in difficult moments, who communicates clearly and kindly, and who consistently shows respect and understanding establishes a bond that is deeper than infatuation. It is enduring emotional connection. A man begins to associate stability with her presence, and over time, that association becomes inseparable from his feelings of attachment. Think about the subtle ways consistency and peace manifest in daily life. The small gestures of patience when he is frustrated, the gentle encouragement when he doubts himself, the calm responses to challenges, all of these create an emotional rhythm that a man begins to rely on. Emotional attachment is rarely about grand gestures. It is built quietly through repeated experiences of safety, understanding, and positive emotional interaction. When these experiences are consistent, a man does not just enjoy a woman's presence. He comes to need it emotionally. A positive energy amplifies the effect even further. A woman who approaches life with enthusiasm, humor, and optimism transforms ordinary moments into meaningful ones. She reminds a man why life is enjoyable, why connection is valuable, and why investing in a relationship feels worthwhile. When he feels uplifted, encouraged, and understood in her presence, attachment deepens naturally. Emotional energy is contagious, and men gravitate toward women whose energy enhances their own sense of well-being. Consistency, peace, and positive energy also reduce emotional fatigue in a relationship. Men are more likely to detach or withdraw when they feel emotionally drained, misunderstood, or unstable. But when a woman maintains emotional balance, he feels recharged rather than depleted after spending time with her. Over time, he begins to associate her presence with a sense of calm, happiness, and emotional security, an association that grows into deep attachment. Emotional investment becomes natural because he experiences emotional reward rather than stress. Finally, these qualities create an environment of mutual respect and admiration. A man attaches when he feels that the relationship is a safe and positive space for both partners. When he experiences her consistency, peace, and positive energy day after day, he begins to view her not just as a partner, but as a cornerstone of his emotional life. He feels drawn to contribute, protect, and commit because he recognizes the rare value she brings into his world. Attachment is no longer optional. It becomes inevitable because she has created the emotional conditions that encourage him to invest fully, wholeheartedly, in enduring. Ladies and gentlemen, emotional attachment is not built on chaos, drama, or fleeting excitement. It is built quietly and powerfully, where consistency, peace, and positive energies. A man attaches deeply to a woman who brings stability, who radiates calm, and whose energy uplifts and restores him emotionally. These qualities are subtle but irresistible. They create an environment where he feels safe, inspired, and valued. And once that emotional foundation is established, attachment is not just likely, it is inevitable.